Okay, so we got a new Elvis Presley movie about Elvis Presley's life. It came out last weekend. Directed by Baz Luhrmann, the director of Moulin Rouge, and we're going to talk about it. So Elvis is the life story of infamous rock star Elvis Presley, seen through the eyes of his controversial ex-manager, Colonel Tom Parker. And the film explores Elvis Presley's highs and lows, the substance abuse, and the many challenges and controversies he's received throughout his career. If you guys are just joining me for the first time, I am Joshua. We talk movies, TV, music, and anime on here. I do reviews, rankings, top 10 lists, live streams, all that stuff on the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. With that being said, join me in the comment section down below. What did you guys think of Elvis? Did you like this movie? Did you hate it? Are you somewhere in the middle? What's your favorite music biopic? What's your favorite Elvis Presley song? And what is your favorite movie directed by Baz Luhrmann? I want to know all those questions in the comment section down below. All my social media links are in the description box down below, as well as you're seeing on screen. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get notified when more videos like this are up. So when it comes to the Elvis movie, much like everyone else, I was intrigued, but at the same time, I wasn't really sure how this was going to go, because Baz Luhrmann, as a director, he's a director. While I do like a few of the movies he's done, and I do wholeheartedly respect his craftsmanship and his style and his ambition, there are a few movies that he's done that I've seen so far where I feel like sometimes some of his decisions and his style does get in the way of. Don't get me wrong, I love Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. My favorite of his is Moulin Rouge. Australia, a little overlong, but I think it's a decent romance love story. Didn't really care too much for The Great Gatsby. It wasn't horrible by any means, I just thought it was okay, but a lot of the modern music day choices really took me out of that movie. Going into Elvis, while I was intrigued to see what he was going to do with the Elvis Presley story, when I first saw the first trailer, I was like, oh no, could this be his downfall movie? Some of the modern day music renditions of a few Elvis Presley songs were a little questionable, but I still went in and kept an optimistic mindset. As I am a fan of music biopics, I love musical biopics. I love the Temptations miniseries. The New Edition story from 4 years ago was great. I love the Bobby Brown story. That was great. My favorite music biopic is Ray with Jamie Foxx. That is a very underrated movie. If you guys have not seen that movie, check that out. But I went in with an optimistic mindset, with me being a fan of music biopics, and also Austin Butler in the role as Elvis Presley. Could this succeed or could this fail? And I'm happy to report Elvis was one of the best music biopics I've seen. Going into the positives of this movie, I'm going to say it right now. Austin Butler. This is a guy I remember seeing on stuff like iCarly and Disney Channel Nickelodeon shows as a kid. And he has came a long way since then. In this role is Elvis Presley. He doesn't look anything like Elvis Presley, but when you see him as Elvis Presley, when he's on screen and he's rocking the Elvis Presley styles and the hairdo, he not only gets the look of Elvis Presley down, but he also gets the mannerisms and the voice and who Elvis was as a person down. It felt like you weren't watching Austin Butler. You felt like you were actually watching Elvis Presley. Moments where he's younger and singing songs, that's actually Austin Butler singing songs for Elvis Presley. You do hear the classic Elvis Presley songs. Some of his songs, a few of them, does have some modern renditions, which surprisingly doesn't really take you out of the movie as much. Austin Butler, he is in the front runner for the Academy Awards next year for Best Actor. I can see him getting nominated for Elvis Presley. He not only puts his heart into it, but he puts everything he got into it. He puts 110% into his performance, and that is the number one thing you gotta get right when you're doing an Elvis Presley movie. Otherwise, it will come off as a cheap impersonation as Elvis. And I think Austin Butler does a very good job in the role as Elvis Presley. Tom Hanks, no reason to doubt him as well. Tom Hanks has been around for years. He is great as Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis' manager. You see the controversial decisions that he and Elvis are going through. You see the relationship. I do like where this movie takes it, and Tom Hanks just puts himself into the role. He is once again great. No reason to doubt Elvis Presley as well. Olivia DeJonge as Priscilla Presley, his wife. She's really good too. Richard Roxburgh as the father of Elvis. Kelvin Harrison Jr. as B.B. King. And Cody Smith-McPhee as Jimmy Rogers. All of this acting in this movie is great. I think all the performances in this movie are very well directed. And Baz Luhrmann's direction is very frenetic, it's very energetic, it's so much chaotic in the direction, but it captures the style of who Elvis was. It's very energetic, very chaotic, but when it comes time to hit for the emotional parts, such as the marriage of Elvis and Priscilla and the substance abuse, he lands that perfectly. And if you're going to tell a movie about Elvis Presley, I think this is one of the few directors that this is kind of one of your only few ways to go. Like I said, you will not see him in my favorite directors list, but he is a director I can admire and appreciate his ambition. And he does put 110% into the musical numbers with Elvis Presley, but also the moments with Elvis as a kid and his childhood life, as well as his marriage to him and Priscilla. And I think all of that is captured very well as the dance numbers and the musical numbers that have a lot of flavor, a lot of energy, and a lot of chaotic craziness to it. You get that whole rock and roll feeling. And you could tell this was, because Elvis Presley, this was a real musician who did pass away years ago and still respected as one of the most respected music artists, despite everything that went on his personal life. So he had to get that down to his essence, and I think he got it down to his essence. This is a very well shot and a very well lit movie. The cinematography in this movie is outstanding. There's a lot of beautiful camera shots. There's a lot of moments where the camera will zoom in and get a little crazy in the musical numbers, but the cinematography is very colorful, it's very Elvis-like. It does recapture the rock and roll era and the style of Elvis Presley. Well as the production design, the costume design, the makeup. All of that I think is really top notch as well. You could tell Baz Luhrmann, he is a fan of Elvis Presley and he wanted to do justice to this story. I even saw some stuff before the movie came out with Priscilla Presley's and her daughter Riley killed. They were able to see the movie. And they even applauded that Austin Butler will win everybody over. And he did win everybody over because, as I said, without Austin Butler's incredible Oscar-worthy performances, Elvis Presley, this movie would not be as good as it is. You can have the Elvis music, you can have the era recreations, but if you don't have a good enough actor to portray Elvis Presley in the way he should be portrayed, as respecting Elvis and his legacy, the whole movie will easily just fall apart. And like I said, it definitely felt that way. It felt like you were there with Elvis Presley. It felt like you were being put into that world of Elvis Presley with the substance abuse and the music and everything, and even some of his controversial decisions he's done and did in his life, in his short life. And you definitely get the full picture here. This is a PG-13, so it does not hold your hand at all. This movie goes for it, and it really does know exactly what you're gonna get. This movie tells you you're getting a movie about Elvis Presley. You ain't getting nothing else. And for that, I definitely have to give credit to Baz Luhrmann. Also, the writing and a lot of the softer moments I think are very good. There's one moment in here with Priscilla Presley with her and Elvis, and you see how the relationship, her mom, and how her mom feels about Elvis Presley. That a lot of that, I think the movie succeeded in what it was trying to do. Like this movie knew what it had to accomplish, and it had a pretty big task to meet. And there's a reason why this movie is the #1 at the box office right now with Top Gun Maverick. Baz Luhrmann, the co-writers, the filmmaking team, Austin Butler, everybody was on the same page. Everyone was on the same page when it comes to wanting to respect this man and his legacy. Of course, you comment for this is an Elvis Presley movie, and you're gonna get the songs. You get classic songs like an American Trilogy. You get Hound Dog, of course. There are some modern renditions of it, those songs, but I think it works in the movie's favor while keeping the original recorded songs of Elvis. Moving into my negative mixed side of things, the only thing I'm really mixed on is I did want a little bit more of the relationship with Elvis and his friends with B.B. King and Jimmy Rogers and Hank Snow. I felt like while that is very prominent in the movie, I do feel like that could have been a little bit more of it, and I feel like you could have played alongside of that. My only real sort of issue when it comes to this movie is I do think the movie is a little too long. This is 2 hours and 39 minutes, and while I am never bored with it, I was enjoying it. I was loving the life story of Elvis being represented on screen. I will say there is about 20 minutes of this movie you could have at least cut out. Like, it's not nothing bad or something. It's just were some moments where the pacing did kind of distract a little bit. Great moments that this movie has. Not that there wasn't a bad moment between the drama or the music with Elvis, but I feel like you could have trimmed the fat just a little bit in a few scenes of dialogue or something. Not everyone is going to like the crazy side of this movie, because this movie is very hyper stylized, it's very frenetic, it's very chaotic, and it's very energetic. So you do have to be in the right mood for that, especially when you're watching a Baz Luhrmann made film. And even though they do take some creative liberties, it still is a accurate enough story about this man's life. All in all, Elvis, one of the best movies of 2022. I was shocked. I was not looking forward to this. Turned out to be another one of those movies that really surprised me. This has been the year of a lot of surprising movies. X, even The Bad Guy, is one of the best movies of 2022. I love the performances. I like the direction. Austin Butler is gonna walk away with an Oscar next year. If not, at least should be nominated or in that category. This is a really good movie about a biopic about Elvis. It's not my favorite music biopic, but I definitely really admire a lot what Baz Luhrmann was able to do, respecting the legacy while also taking cinematic liberties and also having some crazy chaotic fun in his style. Maybe a little bit too long, and some of the craziness is not going to be for everyone, but I thoroughly enjoyed Elvis. So in conclusion, if you are an Elvis Presley fan, if you're a Baz Luhrmann fan, and if you are a music biopic fan, I think you will like this movie a lot. There are going to be some people who's not going to like it, but if you're not a fan of Elvis, if you're not a fan of music biopics or Baz Luhrmann, I wouldn't really suggest checking it out. But if you are curious enough, definitely give it a shot. You will actually be surprised. Like I said, just know you're going to get an Elvis biopic that's very crazy, very frantic, and very rock and roll heavy. So know who you are going into this, and I think you will enjoy it. So on my rating scale, I'm going to give this a better than Vampire Academy. So that wraps up my review for Elvis. I'm going to leave my channel subscription right there. As you see the outro that you see now. All my social media subscription box down below, as well as my Cash App, my Amazon wish list, as well as the address you want to send anything. So I'm gonna leave my playlist of reviews here, as well as one of my videos here. So as always, stay epictastic, join the epictasticness, and you guys keep it cool.